Hi, welcome to Focus on Liberia. I'm the West African correspondent at Amara. Welcome to the latest news update on the continent. Focus on Liberia uses this particular opportunity to ensure that we come to you with the latest development on the continent. We know Africa is a very interesting place. It's a continent with imagine news that sometimes affect us positively or negatively, and we also use this opportunity to interact with the wider populate, also to report to the world what actually happens on the continent, how this thing happens, and how are they affecting the nation state being, how do our people respond to it, and what are some of the things that are actually affecting our state as a continent, and what are some of the things that actually go on the continent or in the continent of other people that actually affect maybe our leadership procedures, or that affect how normally our African leaders respond to this situation. That is why when you watch at Africa and you analyze things, you will tend to understand that we are not just independent, but interdependent. Then at the same time, you will understand that Africa acts a continent on its own, by and large, have definitely maybe been involved into certain activities, maybe that help in mediating efforts. That could be one. Then you will also understand that our continent also stand a very good chance, if not a stand, or it is being exposed to huge amount of chances that will help it maybe to maybe take the stage of the world, like helping to popularize itself. Like when you watch like what is happening to the on the world stage, you will see Israel, Gaza engaging. You will see South Africa definitely coming into the conflict, maybe trying initially when the Russian conflict came in, we saw Cyril Ramaphosa, the lack of Ugandan president, Yoweri Museveni said, I'm not going to condemn, I will not say anything against it, and I'm going to ensure that I take a neutral ground and maybe reprimand who we think that they should be reprimanded. Some people are even taking like maybe the Western mentality of forcing, if not coercing, their former colonies or communes to ensure that they support whatsoever mentality they support, that Africa has the opportunity, as if Africa is given the liberal ground, if not the absolute right, to condemn whatsoever thing they feel of condemning. So we saw that now we are now seeing what South Africa is doing on the continent, maybe taking Israel to the Hague, accusing her, I mean Israel, of committing genocide against the people of Gaza, that is the Palestinians living in Gaza. And maybe South Africa is saying that they did not, or South Africa is not actually in opposition, or not trying to trivialize what happened on the 3rd of October 2023. However, South Africa is arguing that that is not enough ground for the Gazan people to be annihilated, to be killed, for their country to be brought down to rubble as Israel is doing. Civilians have been attacked. So they consider this a genocide. Why Israel is saying this is a retaliatory effort that they are making, and they want to end Hamas as a kind of terrorist organization. And as people are across the world globally, we are thinking that Hamas is an ideology, and maybe they can be killed today, but a lot of Hamas will rise up tomorrow. And the people of Gaza, that is the Palestinian, is the innocent people who are definitely not part of Hamas, should not suffer the consequence of what happened on the 7th of October 2023. When you watch at the gruesome act of Hamas, the killing, the raping, the annihilation, the macheting of Israelis, and all know the connection of Israel to the Holocaust. So that gives you a very bad reminder. But they are also arguing. So who knows? Is South Africa trying to popularize herself into this? Or is she actually fighting a due cause? And the international court actually can pass a ruling, but we all should know that that ruling is not compelling on any nation to adhere to it. And the Israelites are saying that they are fighting to ensure that they safeguard their innocent civilians. So today we are definitely going to have interesting and important stories on the continent. One, we are going to see one Niger minister or prime minister is actually in Moscow visiting. Why is he in Moscow visiting? Then we're also going to see how Ethiopian migrants have been detained in neighboring Mozambique. Then suicide blast kill at least 8 people in Mogadishu near the mayor's office. Then we see Sudan reject mediation effort from IGAD. IGAD is a Southern African regional organization. Sudan has actually rejected it. Then some Zambian ministers have actually taken cholera vaccine to fight against the bacteria that is seriously killing people, and it's a kind of water infection that has resulted into the Zambian government banning public gathering, including like worships, limited in hours. Then like schoolings have actually been stopped for now, temporarily halted until they can see how they can fight against the invading coronavirus, which have killed over 200 people, and it is definitely invading crowded place cities like Lusaka. Lusaka has over 300, over 3 million of people. Then we also see how at least 8 people have died after a boat was capsized on the river in Nigeria. Then also we see how yesterday a military base in Nigeria was attacked, ransacked, and the army base was burned where it houses police and soldiers, and at the same time their military gadget or what materials were like in time of armory we are being set on fire. Millions of livestock were catered away by this armed bandit. Then we also check into that story. See, Kenya court leader is definitely been charged for terrorism. It's a kind of good news international church that definitely asks the leader of that particular church asks its members to starve themselves to death to meet Christ. And then finally, we see. We also check in the DRC Congo how a soldier, 3 of DRC soldiers have actually been killed in neighboring Rwanda. DRC is actually accusing neighboring Rwanda of supporting the Tutsi rebels. Why Rwanda is accusing the DRC Congo of supporting the Houthi rebels, and we know all when the 1994 genocide comes around, we know how those things play around. Then finally, we'll get the latest from AFCON, that is the African Nation Cup. Confederation Nation Cup is actually taking place on the soil of Africa. We'll go into the latest result and see who is leading who and what are some of the surprise results. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. I am the West African correspondent, Edward Amara. In short, bringing to you the latest news on the continent. First, let's see. The Nigerian Prime Minister is in Moscow visiting President Vladimir Putin. Putin waged war on Ukraine, accusing Ukraine of wanting to join NATO, and it was formally agreed that countries in the eastern part of Europe should never join NATO. And because these countries were once under the hegemony of Russia, so when Ukraine made a solid attempt to join NATO, I think Russia took this under Vladimir Putin, took this as a negation of the treaty, and majority, around 8 million Russians are actually living in Donbass region in Ukraine. And by norms, Ukraine is just within the corridor of Russia, and they speak the same language. They have been involved with a lot of things. Unfortunately, Vladimir Putin, the government of what Zelensky is not like it's not a prosy or it's not pro of the current regime in Moscow. So you can see now Kiev and Moscow are not together. That resulted in a serious backlash, and we are now seeing Ukraine fighting for its independence. That conflict has spilling effect on Africa. It is deeply divided. African leaders we are forced, some of them we are forced to condemn what is going on into Ukraine. Unfortunately, some have taken their stand, like of Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, and few other countries did not actually support nor condemn, but rather choose to offer negotiation and see how that issue can be definitely stretched out in the name of peace. Of course, we saw how South Africa made solid attempt to bring those peoples together, but it came to no fruition, and there was nothing important that can actually be taken out of that. On that note, Also saw in by maybe just beginning from 2020 towards this stage, a lot of 2019, a lot of military overthrown have taken place into Africa. Niger has suffered one, Mali twice, Burkina Faso in triple location, Guinea is another one. We are seeing Angola is another one. Solid attempt we actually been made in South Sudan. It resulted into the arrest of certain people. We are now seeing what is going on into Northern Sudan, or in short, yeah, the Sudanese that was formerly under Omar Bashir. Now it is the battle is between Dagado and Hamdidi. So we are now Abuam. We are now seeing like that battle ongoing on. So that has when Niger overthrew president in late days of 2023, the West African bloc, ECOWAS, condemned and suspended her from any regional connections or affiliation. ECOWAS, AU, that is African Unity or African Union, also responded into the same way. Nigeria cut all oil and electricity supply to the country, but that could not stop her detaining Mohamed Bazoum. A few days ago, his son was being released, maybe on medical ground, and they are saying that he is not actually part and parcel of what happened, but they are going to make sure that the president is being tried. Moscow has moved so closer to joining, to what? To recruiting mercenaries from most of those states. We saw when then the government in Niger was being overthrown, we saw Russian flags. In Burkina Faso, it was the same thing. In Guinea, it was the same thing. In Mali, it was the same thing. When even the West African bloc was threatening to take on Niger militarily, we saw both Burkina Faso and Mali offering them solidarity and saying that they will come to their aid in case there's an attack from the West African bloc. And they know that this could be like a collective responsibility. An attack on Niger could also result into an attack on Mali, attack on Burkina Faso, and maybe possibly extended to Guinea. So they are not going to entertain such thing. That, of course, maybe it was a bogus thing, it was a threat, it was a flamboyant attitude, it was a showy mentality from ECOWAS. They could not do it. And Nigeria was seen as the principal engineer of said, maybe because Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu presidency, and he, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has also suffered some military detention under like the like of into former from the former regime of Nigeria. So he knows exactly what happened. And when he came in, according to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he said that he's definitely going to end military coup into West Africa, and it was under his auspices as as a ECOWAS chairperson that Niger president was being overthrown, detained. He could not do anything. What he said, I'm going to invade Niger, but he could not do it because if you watch like neighboring Kano state, most of them are found into Niger. In fact, they will tell you that if you count any three Nigerian, one person would be there who is a Nigerian, maybe possibly from Kano State, neighboring or Nigeria. And when you watch at the state very close to Niger, these people are at war with Boko Haram, ASWAP, the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta. I think about IPOB, Mad Bandit. A lot of people are just going helter-skelter into Nigeria. Most of them found themselves into Nigeria. So should Nigeria attack, or in a situation that Nigeria decide to attack Niger, it is her citizens that are going to suffer a lot because most of our citizens are definitely there as refugees, so she could definitely not attack. So the Nigerian Prime Minister is definitely in Moscow to negotiate on energy, agriculture, and also to see how bilateral trade can definitely be improved on the continent, or especially in Niger. We all know how France have benefited from the uranium that they have been exploiting from Niger for quite a long time. But the Nigerians are claiming that nothing has actually been done. So they want to switch their loyalty from France to Russia. And America has little or no say. And Russia is definitely interested into this thing because they will definitely use it to build on their weapons of mass destruction. And for now, one of the principal powers in the world supporting the war in Ukraine, that is very strong ally, is North Korea. And North Korea, led by Kim Jong-un, is definitely supporting Russia. Maybe a return of other facilities that they are definitely, because a lot of things is also happening into North Korea. So all of those things, you may see that the world definitely taken huge amount of spaces, and a lot of powers are supporting unscrupulous things. So you must see that in the world, when it comes to political issues, you have permanent friends. Yeah, you don't have permanent enemies, but you have permanent interests. And the raw issue, of course, the death of Prigozhin, when Prigozhin challenged Vladimir Putin, we all knew that he was like a dead man walking or a dead corpse. Now his soldiers, the Wagner group, are definitely in places like Sudan, they're in places in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and they are also in Central African Republic. Their situation is definitely developing. And because of the selfish and scrupulous mentality of the West, Russia has scrupulously led herself into Africa, and they are now making certain unscrupulous deeds. Africa now, those what unpredictable, those draconian regime, those with military tendency want to maybe take over. Unfortunately, nothing has been done with the military taking over. And what is so interesting about the continent is that each time the military takes over a particular state, you see the people who are professing their support for the military because the current legitimate or claimed legitimate government are not doing legitimate contract. They are not respecting social contract. On that notion, a lot of people will tend to support the military regime, but which arguably somebody will tell you that the worst civilian government is the best military regime, but they also come with promises. So it's a situation that we are trying to fight and see how the mentality of not having a legal way of changing government can definitely be put to stop into Africa. Unfortunately, because certain things, now that notion is definitely taken over. And coming to Ethiopia, around 20 Ethiopians are actually been detained in neighboring Mozambique. Illegal migrants. They crossed over to Mozambique because they were facing starvation. According to latest report, over 220 people in the Tigrayan region have actually died from starvation. And Ethiopia under Abiy Ahmed came in. Abiy Ahmed won an accolade, won the Nobel Peace Prize because people thought that he was a unifier, a peacemaker after 20 or 25 good years of political wrangling with neighboring Eritrea, Asmara there under the hegemony of Asaya Ifikwiti. He came, reinstalled mobile network connection, communication has been there. These are neighboring people. If you set eyes on Ethiopians, you cannot definitely truly differentiate them from Ethiopians. They look alike, whatsoever, but these are the same people. Unfortunately, they fought a bitter war in the 1990s. Over 2,000 people were being killed, borders were being closed, people were being macheted. Now, Abiy Ahmed came and put them together. But he went against Tigray. Tigray was one of, in fact, Tigray people will tell you that the Tigrayan will tell you that maybe a capital city Makele, that you cannot disassociate, disconnect what Tigrayan people have done to the current what civilization and standardizing or modernizing of Ethiopia. And they have been definitely on the helm of affairs for quite a long time. So they think and feel that Ethiopia is their own and they have been on the hegemony for quite a long time. Abiy Ahmed took over, there was war, he sacked the government in the region, waged war, and he decided that even the referendum that was being conducted in 2020 in the bid to ensure that Tigray become independent, he termed it null and void and waged war against the sitting government. The Tigrayan government took arms and ammunition against. They were supported by neighboring Afar region, and that resulted into huge back crisis. Of course, Aromo is now fighting against Ethiopia, and it's another region which has resulted in a series of deaths. Of course, Abiy Ahmed, a student person, took arms and ammunition, went on the battlefront and called upon Ethiopians to ensure that they fight for the safety of the democracy and to ensure that Ethiopia parliamentary system of government is strongly retained. Unfortunately, that have not given birth to anything that is good, which has resulted in a series of killing and also targeting the political prisoners. Most Tigrayans have been arrested, adopted, killed. People from the Afar Aromo region have been adopted and killed. Mikele have never been peaceful. So a lot of those things are going on. Now people will try to escape from Ethiopia into South Africa. Some are definitely escaping through the Mozambique. Some are even found into Kenya. 20 of them have been arrested. They are under detention. And they are saying that over 220 people have actually died since this year from starvation because certain things are actually happening. Of course, Abiy Ahmed will not say you anything important about that. And unfortunately, Ethiopia was known as OA, Organization of African Unity, the birthplace of Africa. Addis Ababa is, well, in fact, when you get into Ethiopia, because I've been there one, it's a colorful country, fantastically built. Their capital city, Addis Ababa, is so good. And you understand that they are one of the advanced places on the continent. It's a very vast country, a huge amount of population, maybe something can be going on. They may not know if you are not in a particular region, you may not even know if there are certain things are going on, or they may be except you see it on news. But unfortunately, the country is definitely at war. It is at loggerhead with certain regions, and people are being stabbed, people are being killed, people are being raped, people are being politically targeted. And we have not seen maybe South Africa buzillaring this thing, except when it is taken, like maybe South Africa would have taken the government of Ethiopia to the Hague for targeting maybe the people of Tigray. They were being killed, they were being macheted. It was a nasty, a dastardly attack, unprovoked attack on the people of Tigray. Why should he do that? Negotiation should definitely come. But instead, we're now seeing Abu Zila. What is South Africa aiming at? Can she? The money and energy, time that she's actually investing on European issues should be invested into Africa. Let's try to unify Africa. Let's have unify involved. He's a very good orator, a charismatic person. We know him, how he carefully won the election for Ikolamini Lamini Zuma. That is the wife of South African former president, Jacob Zuma, when we saw on media that no political power is not transferred through sexual intercourse. So all of those things were there. So Ikozana Dlamini Zuma was carefully debated by by the current South African president. We know him, he's an orator, he's very good. He's good at changing the time frame of whatsoever. But I'm thinking that I'm not against what he's doing actually, but maybe that time, that energy, that resources should have been invested on African issues. The West are too many than us. They are numerous. In fact, just two or three countries can even consume our entire population. Why can't we allow them to settle our own problem? We have a lot of issues on the continent. But it is also maybe it's buying time, it's buying energy, and they want to maybe establish a spectacular record that he did that, he did this. It's very important, but to me, it is important, but it is not necessary. I think he should have done that to fight against what is going on into Africa. So let's go, man. So let's see. Sudan has definitely rejected the effort of IGAD to negotiate. IGAD was definitely involving like Hamdidi, Abuam, or to negotiate to see how they can end the 9-month war. Of course, Abuam have definitely been all over Africa, maybe drumming support, political support, but it's carefully moved. But this is the kind of force that have definitely moved against themselves. They are now fighting. That is the pro supporters or the pro and cons of the former regime of Omar al-Bashir. Al-Bashir is definitely in detention in one of the military camps into Khartoum. Nobody knows his special whereabouts. He's an old man. He has been suffering under detention. We all know what he did into Sudan, and he was actually being indicted by the International Criminal Court, which is safe prostitution into the Hague. The military have refused, and the military knows very well that should Bashir is sent to the Hague, a lot of their heads are going to. And Sudan per se, for quite a long time have been under the hegemony of the military, and most of enterprises, be it private, be it public, are definitely being owned there by the military. They are wealthy, well placed. They are the most influential people. They determine what goes on into Sudan or not. So knowing having if you can take Abashia to the Hague, if he speaks there, most of those guys are definitely going also to be indicted, because if he can succeed to lead Sudan over 20 years, then he should have a pile of supporters who help him in executing his public and private plans. So all of these things are definitely there. Now they are now fighting, and they have definitely rejected the effort of IGAD to make any negotiation, because they think and feel that IGAD is definitely not free. Mind you, Russia is also interested into what is going on into the South Sudan, because they are secretly doing business in gold with those players. Blood gold had definitely been exploited on a daily basis. Of course, the last man standing, who was killed by Putin, that is Prigozhin. Prigozhin was actually involved with his Wagner group into Sudan, and they were illegally transporting goods into Russia to ensure that they are being given, the paramilitary forces are being given arms and ammunition to ensure that they build a very strong, maybe a military base to fight against the sitting government. Al-Bashir, one of his powerful men, was also released, and he's saying that he's going to support the overthrow of the government and at the same time ensure that those guys who are seen as enemies of the state are being brought to the book. Since that terrorist was released, nobody knows his whereabouts and he has taken side and he's considered as one of the dangerous people on the soil, especially in South Sudan. And we all know how reprisals are developed. What the Janjaweed militia, because we are seeing an ethnicity, clientism have been taking place on the continent so bad. So they come to our fifth story. Zambia ministers take cholera vaccine. For now, in Central Africa, especially in places like Zambia, they are now undergoing their own rainy season. Fortunately, we are in West Africa, in Sierra Leone, this is our dry season. And because of lack of pure drinking water, that come through by is a throwback to our African countries, especially our government. Some government hardly produce pure drinking water by their citizens. Immediately, especially in the player in the suburbs area, where population is very high in places like Lusaka, that is the capital city of Zambia. Over 3 million people are living. There are certain places that are not worth of living. And we have citizens of Zambians who are there. When a bacteria of cholera attack, a lot of people drank water that were infected by that particular bacteria. And now over 200 people have been killed, 24 in the last 24 hours in Lusaka. Schools were forced to shut down or postponement of schools definitely happen. Churches and public gatherings are also banned. And public ministers, especially the head minister, and a few other colleagues came out publicly to take the vaccine and also to help to ensure that the citizens take the vaccine. That was a means of instilling sanity and also assurances to the people that the vaccine has no political motivation. It has nothing to do with the people. Because that news was also spread into neighboring Mozambique that resulted into the attack of government parastatals, government houses. Certain people were being caught, tortured, and some people even lost their life because it was widely spread by the Naparamas, that is the neighboring militia that, or the militia, local militias into Mozambique that are actually fighting against the government. They claim that the government was spreading the cholera bacteria to infect people. So that resulted into the attack of government houses. And we're now seeing the government or government ministers into Zambia coming out publicly to take the vaccine, especially in Lusaka, that is the political city of Zambia, to install peace and assurance to the people to continue taking the vaccine because that will be the best way for them actually to be safe from the virus. Unfortunately, our government in Africa, the basic necessities that can prevent citizens falling prey to certain things are definitely what happened. There are no good road network. Pure drinking water is not available. So let me just say drinking water is definitely not available. Lack of electricity is definitely not available. We do not have the basic necessity like food, shelter. Definitely is not. Clothing is not also available. Then illiteracy, ignorance, and poverty in short are very high, and these are the three greatest enemies of mankind. So each time we have an issue on the continent, we are quick rounded up. That is why when even dissident mentality come, people normally take over and they can easily get down to it because it is very easy the for information like that to be disseminated. In essence, yeah, this person enter in essence, yeah, the mentality of all of those things that happen, it creates issues, it creates pressures, it creates pressures, it creates pressures. So so all of those things happen and it creates issues for us on several occasions. Unfortunately, our government is not like or the government in Africa, they do not prioritize things. Priority in essence to be there. Look like China. China is having over 1 billion people. But what have they been doing or what have the government done to control that growing population? One, the government has ensured that there is enough food. It is there. It was there. You can see. Wheresoever you go, there is food. The sentiment being spread over is not as the way it is in China. There's light everywhere. Good road network. Then employment facility are being provided. Let me just say the basic necessities are found everywhere. Even when you are in the village, you also enjoy light. You also enjoy good road network. education facilities being found everywhere. So if those things are available, you can easily control your population. This is what we call benevolent dictatorship. I agreed. China is not running a what? A democratic government. What they are running is a benevolent dictatorship. You do not even conduct election. However, elections are being conducted on a very high ranking basis, hierarchy basis. But still people are consenting towards their government because almost everything that they need is available and they produce those things. Even your education system, it is highly influential, highly sophisticated. They have their engineers, they have their doctors, they have everything that they need. So if you want to develop China, or if China wants to develop herself, if she needs an engineer, she will get it. If she needs a doctor with the right expert, they can get it. Look at Africa. If when our government is, or even when our government is about to undertake development, most of those money are sent outside Africa or outside those countries because the countries do not have the expertise to ensure that they implement those development. What do? We rely on other countries' nationals to come and implement those things. And when they come, they charge us huge amount of money. So even somebody tells you that thousands of billions of dollars have been sent to country A and B for certain development, those money are not going to be utilized solely and wholly into these countries. How many people who are with the prerequisite knowledge are going to be hired to for the implementation of such program? There will definitely be many. And most of those money will definitely go into salary and they come with those things planned. But if we are nationals of those countries being hired to implement the job, so whatsoever money be generated, like in time of payment, those money are going to be invested into the country. The infrastructure are going to be improved, and the lives of those citizens are going to be improved. So I think Africa should rely on what improving the infrastructure. 1.7 billion and 1.7 million vaccines have definitely been sent to Zambia to ensure that those vaccines are being purchased. But Zambian government cannot produce vaccines on their own. So what do? They will take those money and send it to other countries, and that money will be sent to invest into the health system of other countries. Nations which can produce those vaccines on their own will use those money to still invest into their health system, improve on their medication, while we only come with the end product. End of the day, even when the cholera is gone, the vaccines are going to expire and it's going to be of no use to those people. Say like the COVID-19, around $7 million vaccines have actually expired into Uganda, and they're even expecting more than that. Reason being, those vaccines were purchased by the government to ensure that they vaccinate their citizens against the invasion of COVID-19. Unfortunately, by the time the vaccines were available, COVID-19 was almost leaving the continent. And people became a lot disinterested or having lukewarm interest into the taking of the vaccine. So you understand that our country went into losses and the money was already being utilized. The vaccines were definitely there. Let's assume that it was us who we are producing those vaccines. But I think effort we have been made by the Madagascar government to produce vaccine. Unfortunately, the notion was bastardized, relegated, seemed so primitive, naive, and we could not term it anything good. So, effort of Africans definitely have been relegated. Unfortunately, that is what we are seeing. It's very sad, it's unfortunate, and it's a very surprising thing. I think Africa need to move from this wrong direction. We need to adopt things that can actually help us in dealing with our own personal issues. But it is very unfortunate. Let's see. At least 8 people have been killed in the boat in Nigeria. The boat capsized and it killed 8 people. Over 200 people have actually, over 1,200 people have actually been killed from 2018 to 2023 in Nigeria, resulting from capsizing boat. And when the boat capsized, 8 people are dead, 5 women, 3 men, and it's even clear that 10 people have been rescued and a lot of others are still being searched for. So it is highly possible that the death rate is going to be increased based on the report that we are going to get, because this is a very developing story. So the international investigations team is saying that over 1,200 people died or have lost their life from 2018 to 2023 from resulting from both that capsized on the ice. And what they are saying, they are on the rivers in Nigeria. They were actually moving from neighboring Manduguri state to Kebbi state to sell their grains in order for them to purchase food and other things. They are saying this is a result of what? Overcrowding, lack of maintenance, and also lack of what? Life jacket. Those most of those boats are actually old. They do not have the right equipment, the right knowledge is not there to maintenance. They do not have life jacket. And at the same time, people with what force themselves to be overcrowded into one boat in the name of just getting and coming back because boats are definitely not enough. Also in Nigeria, in Manduguri State, a military base was attacked on Sunday. Women were being raped, killed, tortured. Millions of valuables were catered away by the invading bandits. Police and soldiers were also killed. The army base was attacked, ransacked, and the armory set on fire. Some local eyewitnesses said thousands of people fled from those villages. The military said they were overwhelmed by the armed bandit attack. They are still terminating this armed bandit. But it is highly likely that this was as a result of the activities of either ASWAP, that is the Islamic State of West Africa, or Boko Haram, a well-sophisticated, a well-trained with sophisticated weapons by some of these armed bandits into Nigeria. And most of the situation into Nigeria now is becoming rampant. Since Asiwaju Pula Amen took over, nothing has actually changed. It is unfortunate that the situation things keep changing. And Nigeria is now facing maybe a very difficult situation. We need to be very careful. We need to understand everything that goes on, and we should understand that things like this should never be pampered or encouraged. But unfortunately, Nigeria has fallen prey to a total division in terms of armed banditry, attack on military. A population is vulnerable. Almost everything that is happening to the new continent will keep on happening, and we should be very careful on how to handle those things. Maybe Nigeria need the effort of South Africa. Come there and install peace. There was a time that America refused to actually supply arms and ammunition to Nigeria on the backdrop that Nigeria human rights issues is still questionable. Agreed, but they are not fighting. When they are fighting terrorist group and bandit group, it's not a football match. A lot of things result. So we are expecting a strong force to come. We are expecting the advocacy of Nigeria, of South Africa to be directed to these people. They're not coming to our seventh story. Of course, in Kenya, the leader of the Good News International Church have been accused, what was charged to court, and he has been convicted, and he's been convicted of murder, and at the same time tortured, all other inhumane treatment of those whom he termed as his followers. According to this preacher, he persuaded his followers to stab themselves to death in the name of meeting their maker, that heaven is safe. But if you stab yourself, you die through a painful means. When you meet your follower in heaven, you will definitely be accommodated and be given all the pleasure that you are lacking because of poverty, illiteracy, ignorance, and because of the fanatic mentality of religion into Africa, especially Kenya. People tend to uniformly follow the mentality of these pastors without actually questioning the mentality and seeing whether this can only be this just an ordinary philosophy. Unfortunately, that man has been charged with 64 others. 90 others, 64 of them are actually from those areas. And most of those people we are seeing, groups only, they were killed. Some of them were tortured. Some of them will be forced to torture you until you die. And in fact, they are saying that most of those victims who are now caught alive, we are actually part of their perpetrator. And some of them we are even given false identities to the police, and for them not to be identified, except two victims who are not part of the perpetrators confess that these are the guys who manipulated us into doing this thing. That is one. Then secondly, most people have actually refused to even give the right information to the police. So nobody knows exactly how many people we are being killed. We need to be very, very. I'm not against religion, but we need to be very careful with the type of religions that we follow because certain people are devil. They are devil incarnate. We need to be very, very careful because either you can be saved by a religion or you can definitely be sent into your early heavens or hell without knowing exactly what you are doing. So let's see. Okay, Jeremy Gaiman is saying Israeli government flag the murder of Christians amazed. What's the status? Interesting. Anyway, let's see. Kenya, that is his opinion, and he's right in his own opinion. Okay, so let's see. Uh, in Kenya also, let's see, DRC Congo soldiers actually. Three of them have actually been killed in neighboring Rwanda. DRC is actually accusing neighboring Rwanda of supporting the Tutsi rebel, the Tutsi MP23 rebels. Why? Rwanda is also accusing the DRC of supporting the Houthi rebels into Rwanda. And that has been an allegation and counter allegation against themselves. Of course, DRC is having war with the MP23 rebel, the Janjaweed militias, or other people. And we are now seeing like Rwanda, Kenya, troops from Burundi, troops from Kenya, Uganda, this Rwanda, and other people are definitely into the DRC. Normally, the government is accusing these same troops of supporting the so-called rebels because of the minerals and other things that they are exploiting. So it's a very bad situation. They are expecting South Africa to be involved into that. Forget about the Israelis. I'm not saying you should not lead, but your energy and time that you're investing on them, that energy and time can be invested here. The world's most powerful countries have the almighty power to stop the war into Israel, to stop the war into Palestine, to stop the war in Ukraine against Russia. We have a lot of things to be doing. Use your energy, use the power that you have, use your uniformity mentality to bring Africans together. We need to invest into our African system. So that is so good. Okay, Jeremy also said there was mass killing of Christians in northern Nigeria. That is what was flagged in the UN. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, but in this world, we mass killing in northern Nigeria. That was what was flagged into the UN. You are right, you are right. But I think the UN also need to be taken certain things as based on their occurrence on the continent. I don't think whether African issues are actually prioritized. Most of those things are only being flimsily discussed and they are not being targeted. We all know how these issues are started for quite a long time. But mind you, each time there is laxity into the West tackling certain conflict into Africa because they know they are investing less, but they are getting more. Because each time they are, you know how many barrels of oil are being unscrupulously taken from Nigeria and exported to certain countries from this to Islamic control area or where the government has a volatile situation. So Africa is definitely losing things illegally and the West may not have too much interest. Even when you watch at the conflict in Sudan, it will not stop because the West is benefiting from those conflicts. Watch at DRC, this conflict will not stop because the West is benefiting from it. You watch at this happening in Niger, this conflict because the West have interest into uranium. So wheresoever there is mineral resources into our countries and the West is interested into them, they will do everything they can to ensure that the unity, the peace, the democracy, or whatsoever thing that will happen to those countries will definitely be put into pandemonium. So they will definitely benefit. Look at North Africa. It will never be peaceful. Oil and other resources are definitely there. The West are using the conflict into the Western countries definitely are using those things to ensure that they exploit the resources that are found over there. So with peace, with a solid government, our countries can definitely benefit from those things. But as long as there is no solid government into these things, definitely it is the opportunity of the West to exploit those things and even come in the name of peacekeeping. Do you know those peacekeepers, how many of our resources? In fact, they come there with sophisticated things, how they can easily exploit our mineral resources without our knowledge in the name of peacekeeping. That is why even when France was into Niger, when France was into Mali, they were exploiting the resources of those countries with unscrupulous mentality, claiming that they are there for peace, for paternity, they are there to enforce all of those things. So we are now knowledgeable, we are not afraid, we should be very, very, very careful on how to handle these people. So that is what we are saying. So let's see AFCON 2023. Surprise results are definitely coming out. Congratulations to Ivory Coast on the first day of the African Nation Cup. If you do not know, Ivory Coast actually beat uh, Guinea-Bissau by 2 goals to 0. The first goal came into the first 4 minutes. It was a fantastic result. So Nigeria went on to draw with Equatorial Guinea 1-1. So in that particular group, Ivory Coast is first. Equatorial Guinea second, Nigeria third. Both Equatorial Guinea and Nigeria having points or a point. Then at the same time, the Gambia is having, the Guinea-Bissau is having 0 points. Of course, we saw Cape Verde surprising the world. Cape Verde embarrassed Ghana on the world stage by beating them 2 goals to 1. Then Egypt drew with Mozambique 1-1. So in Group B, we're having Cape Verde as the group leaders, Egypt second with a point, Mozambique third with a point. Then finally, we are seeing the Gambia with 0 point. Then in what in Ghana, excuse me, Ghana with 0 point. In Group B, we have Cape Verde, we have Egypt, Mozambique, and Ghana. Ghana is having no point from their first encounter with Cape Verde. Cape Verde embarrassed them. Then in Group 3, of course, Senegal, as the defending champions, took a staggering move by defeating the Gambia 3 goals to 0. Cameroon drew with Guinea 1-1. And that match, according to the reporters in Ivory Coast, it was one of the most attended match because Guinea is just a neighbor to Ivory Coast, and unfortunately, neither Liberia nor Sierra Leone could qualify. If any one of us had qualified, or these two countries qualified, maybe the population or the spectators would have increased. Unfortunately, neither Liberia nor Sierra Leone could qualify. We're only watching the games on television. So we are expecting that those things definitely can be improved. Okay, that was in Group C. Then in Group D, we are seeing Burkina Faso is leading the group with 3 points. Angola, maybe Angola is having a point. Then Angola is having a point. Of course, Algeria is also having a point. And with Mauritania also a point. Then Namibia was playing. Okay, Namibia was playing with Tunisia. Both were nil-nil. I don't know whether the match had come to conclusion. Then, of course, Mali and South Africa will be taking on themselves later on in the day. So the African Nation Cup has been led with huge amount of surprises. Teams that did not used to do better on the show are definitely doing better for the time being, and we are hoping to see more surprises on the continent as the results of our Nation Cup go as slated. For now, the African Nation Cup is peaceful, and I think unfortunately, another surprise news: Tunisia has been defeated by Namibia, a goal to know. In fact, when I was watching the game, in fact, Tunisia is not known on the continent as a footballing nation. Honestly, in time of past results, Namibia is not known on the continent. Tunisia 2004, they won the Nation Cup. And it was one of the most attended Nation Cup. Unfortunately, we are seeing Tunisia lost the match to Namibia by a goal to nil. So in Group E, Tunisia is at the bottom of the group. Now we are now seeing Namibia leading the group, followed by Mali and then South Africa. A lot of surprise results are still expected, and teams that we are thinking that could do better are definitely not doing better, except the like of Senegal, which has maintained its status. Then we are also seeing Ivory Coast as the host did a lot. Of course, we saw Samuel Eto'o was in attendance when Cameroon, even though Guinea had a red card from the beginning, still she could not use it as an opportunity to defeat Guinea. They came out 1-1. Although they made some solid attack, but the defense of Guinea was solidly packed, and they are ready to ensure they take over any time of attack. And they made some series of counter-attack. Now, Namibia won the match by a goal to nil. Fantastic. Congratulations to the Namibians. Congratulations to the Southern Africans. There was a time somebody asked, "Why do you?" There was a time that somebody said, "How? What is the difference?" Because since we are having a country in the southern part of Africa known as South Africa, so I think they are Southern Africans. So that is why in Southern Africa, Namibia, the capital city, Windhoek, has registered a huge defeat. I think it's an accolade to them. They need to be congratulated. On the continent, actually, we have strong football countries or football nations in the north and west. But of late, the West have been dominating. I'm speaking of West Africa. Follow, of course, Egypt, one of the strongest contending countries on the northern part of Africa is Egypt. Tunisia has also won. Morocco did a lot. Of course, they went as far as what in the last four of the latest Nation Cup. So I think the North is also doing extremely well in terms of football, irrespective of their political involvement. Maybe if our continent has maintained its commitment in terms of our governance system, trust me, Africa would have had one of the best teams on the world continent. Watch at the United States team. Alfonso Davis is there. He's a Liberian. But can he subscribe his playing to Liberia? No. Because Liberia does not have the money, does not have even when George Uponria was there. I was thinking that he can convince his children. We all saw Timothy Weah was playing in America. I know he has the right. I'm not saying he shouldn't because just because he's Mr. President's son doesn't mean that he's not an American. He does not have the right to play for America. But I was thinking that he could have done much to ensure that Timothy Weah plays for Liberia, but he didn't. Look at Alfonso Davis. Do you think that those two players, we have a lot of other Liberians who are actually playing for other countries, but these are renowned people with a well-established record, strongly admired. Alfonso Davis, well, it's not. I think he's a Canadian. Excuse me. Alfonso Davis is a Canadian because he naturalized in Canada. So all of those things are there. We are expecting those things to be there. Even in Sierra Leone, we have a lot of other. Even like I think somebody is definitely playing for. For one of our countries that one of those let me just say a team is playing for Middlesbrough. One Alfred, how do you call Alfred Bangura, who is also a Sierra Leonean. We are expecting those things to definitely be coming up, and we're expecting our government to be solidly involved into convincing the African players to come back to play on the continent. Look at the French team. There's somebody we call it the UN team because almost the team of France is made up of Africans from head to toe. But can they come here? No, they can't because we do not have enough to convince them. Think I like of Gulu Kante, Karim Benzema. You talk of lot of players like this player Dembaba was another one. You think about the like of Paul Pogba who was there. Patrick Evra, but almost everything about them. Even this boy Bappe is also another African. Even watch at the English team. How many blacks are there? But will they come? They will definitely not come. I think our countries, our government are definitely not maintaining the status quo on how to convince these African players to definitely come on the continent. That is why the Nation Cup is not being greatly admired. People hardly care to watch at it. At the end of the day, you do not see classically placed players with established record on the continent. Most of them are definitely Milan. So it's been me, Edward Amara, focus on Liberia, West African correspondent, coming to you with the latest development on the continent. Join me back tomorrow, same place, same time, to analyze things that affect our continent. Thank you. Good day.